We're ending 2019 on a really strong note with fantastic headphones under $1,000. And they're not just a little under $1,000, they're extremely under $1,000. They're $300 plus tax and free shipping. So this is going to be not necessarily a sound review of the Monoprice M570, and I'll say why in just about a second. But I'm going to go over why they're significant and why I like them so much, and how they compare, of course, to the Sendiiva, the Blonde B20, which are Zeos's new favorite headphone. He likes them a little bit, I think, a little bit more than the Sendiiva. They're a little different. Of course, they use the same driver, and so there's actually 4 that have been reviewed by the main review chain so far: the Takstar HF580, the Blonde B20, and the Sendiiva, and then now the Monoprice M570, which makes 4. Takstars are about $160 to $190. The Monoprice M570 are $300. The Blonde B20 are $450 to $470. Sendiiva normal price is $600. So you've got this huge range of cost, and they go anywhere from $160 to $600. They all use the same driver. They have 3 of them have the same tuning. The 3 most expensive ones, they have 0 tuning to the driver. And then the Takstars, they have a little bit different of a tuning. They sound pretty different, although they have the same or similar signature. The sound is noticeably different. So this is a very interesting line of headphones. DMS talked about how the Takstars would be a very good candidate for modding. I don't think the Takstars necessarily are in and of themselves, but I think the driver does make for a good platform. Now, I haven't seen the driver for sale anywhere by itself, although someone's got to have it. Someone's licensing this, someone's letting people use it. I don't know who it is. It's not Sendi, it's not Monoprice, it's not Blonde, it's not Sivka. We were talking about this on Zeos's patronage chat, and I'm not going to leave too much or tell too much about it because it is a relatively exclusive chat. But these are all part spin headphones, with the exception of the Sendi. The Sendi, it seems that they've created their own headband and suspension design, and I haven't seen it on any other headphone. Now, with the Monoprice, the Blonde, those are definitely part spin headphones where you can see a lot of similarities between those and other companies like Sivka, or the now defunct Lasmex, or just companies like that. You see a Chinese headphone, you don't really know how to pronounce their name, and you'll notice that there's a lot of similarities with the parts between them, and I'll show you a little bit of that. But yeah, so why is the 570 so important? Well, you've taken the driver from a $600 headphone, and we haven't changed it at all, and you've cut the price in half. That should be reason enough. They've found a way to make money while retaining the same sound as a $600 headphone, which is already, mind you, competing with in the $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500 price bracket. Now, sure, it has its flaws, but what's significant is that I'm looking at a list of $200 to $300 headphones right here in front of me on the screen, and I cannot pick a single one that I would prefer to these. These are the M570, and if you want to know how they sound, I highly recommend watching Zeos's review of the Blonde B20 or the Sendiiva. There's one difference with these and the Sendiiva, and that's the pads. The version 2 of the Blonde B20 has the same pads as these. They have the same tuning. I can guarantee it. They have the same tuning. I have thoroughly listened to these and compared them to Zeos's review notes. I do trust his opinion. I know that he's a little bit of a polarizing figure in the audiophile community, but I trust his opinion on this. And the exact same thing that he says about the Blonde B20 that's exactly what's happening with these. Almost the same sound as the Sendiiva, about 95% of the sound, with a wider sound stage and a little bit less forwardness and not less detail, but just less intensity. Like I said, 95%. It's right there. And then what happens when you take Sendiiva pads, you take these pads off and put them on the M570, guess what? They sound exactly like Sendiivas. And I'm not exaggerating. They are almost exactly the same. And the only thing that I can tell that's different is that the M570 sounds a little bit more open. And that's because these grills, you can see there's a fine mesh underneath just to protect the drivers. And they're beautifully machined, by the way. I don't know if that's coming through on the camera, but there's no burrs. They're just beautiful. Anyway, mesh behind here, and you can see quite a bit through here. Whereas with the Sendiiva, again, beautifully machined, but there's a metal mesh underneath. It's not like a screen door mesh. So not as much sound is going to get through here. That is the only tuning that has been done to these compared to the M570. You put them on your head with the same pads and just resting them on your head. If you A/B blind tested them, you wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, you would have to have some serious ears to do it. And it doesn't matter because this is $300. This is $600. Yes, they're physically different. If that matters to you, great, Sendiivas. I like these. I like the way they're designed. I don't really like suspension headbands. And this is plenty soft up here. The sliders click and stay in place, where the Sendiiva, they don't. They're friction. So I like that. And I like the gigantic pads if you want that huge, well, not huge. If you want the larger, more airy soundstage. I'm not using airy to describe the tonality of it. I'm using the word air to explain the sort of cavernous feeling that you get when you go from these, which are very intense, very, like, it sounds like the driver's right here and just shooting sound in your ear, where these, they just move it about that much farther away, and it changes the experience enough where you can say, oh wow, these are different. But you get that with, like I said, the Blonde B20 or the M570. But if you want the Sendiiva experience, go to musictech.com, buy Sendiiva pads, and throw them on here. The very cool thing about these three headphones, just forget the Tagstar for now. The Blonde, the Monoprice, and the Sendi, they all use the same wooden cup design. Now you say, but the Monoprice is black. It's not wood. Oh yes, it is. It is very much wood. And I look right there. It is stained black wood. And it is the most subtle thing ever, but it's wood. And if you look at the cup design, they have the same angles, the same exact like jack. I mean, it's exactly the same. They are made the same. So you're not losing out on the tonality that the wood imparts on the sound. You've got beautifully machined metal grills. The comfort's there. It's not quite the same as the Sendiiva as far as comfort. The Blonde also uses a suspension headband. The M570 does not, obviously. It's more of a streetable, a wearable, a usable, good planar. It's just good. It's really, really good. There's nothing that beats it. The issue I had with the Blonde is if you're spending $470 on a headphone, you might as well buy a Sendiiva and then just buy the Blonde pads if you want. The Sendiiva just looks, in my opinion, I don't prefer the silver and wood of the Blonde, but if I had to pick, looks wise, I'd go for this. If you're gonna spend that much money, go for the Sendiiva, go for the real deal. If you want that sound and you want to be a little bit more discreet about it, you want something that looks a little bit more stylish, I think, and you want all black, or just get these. They're way better. They're the same sound. All three of them have the same sound. So you're not picking the sound when you're comparing these three headphones. You're picking the visuals. And to me, yeah, the other two are beautiful. They've got exposed wood. They've got beautiful metalwork. I think that there is a perfect place in the market for these headphones, despite what some would say they're inadequate looks. I don't think they look inadequate at all. In fact, I think that the grills, I love that Monoprice logo. They're just fantastic. And the best thing is, the reason I don't really like suspension headbands is that when you put these on, get them the right way around. When you put these on, I mean, you look kind of like a dork because the cups are so big, but you don't have a huge band coming off the top of your head like you would on other headphones. Obviously, I think the worst offender of this would be the Fidelio X2 and the old Monoprice M560. These are the 570 because they have huge suspension headbands that make you they're literally like this. So just something to consider there if you want to take these out on the go. Another thing, here's the box they came in. Box is nothing special. Typical Monoprice case, but I would say that it is quite a bit nicer than the outgoing generation of cases that Monoprice has. And you can see it's just form fit. Headphones fit in there nicely, cable fits in there nicely. You probably fit 2 cables in there. Speaking of cables, you would be, as I drop stuff off my desk, you would be very hard pressed to find a nicer cable, a nicer stock cable. So screw on end, typical. That's fine. A little bit of strain relief, and I don't know if the camera's gonna focus on this, but very smooth braiding, and look how straight this thing is. And have these beautifully machined ends on the end. Matches the aesthetic perfectly. Monoprice needs to start selling these cables about yesterday, about 3 weeks ago, about a year ago, because I would buy the shit out of these cables. With the Sendiiva, like, the cable's beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's all copper, it's exposed, it's this. Look at the machined ends. I mean, they're fantastic. But I don't want to take the cable out anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere with it. It sits on my desk and I say, okay, like I might take it to work a couple times to show some people, but I don't want to take it out. This, I mean, it's probably a $6 cable, but who cares? It's really, really good. It doesn't hold memory. It's very, very light. It's very smooth. It doesn't tangle on itself. Um, I can't sing the praises of this cable enough. So yeah, here's what it looks like all wrapped up. You can see it's got really no memory to it at all. So it's nice. So they give you a pretty killer package. I think it's, you know, if it's not the best headphone in the $300 range, it's right there. Again, I was looking at this list of, speaking of which, HiFiGuides.com. So I've narrowed my search from $150 to $320. I'm looking at these headphones, and I've heard a lot of these. I haven't heard some of them, but I'd say more than half of them I've heard. And I'm going to list off all of the ones that I've heard that I prefer the Monoprice to compared to these. So, Meze 99 Neo, 81000X, Fidelio X2. It's close. Fidelio X2 has sort of a different purpose. Really great headphone, but those are kind of like 150 now. They're not even like 300. So kind of a different price bracket, but Fidelio X2, Fostex T20 RP, T50 RP, T60 RP, Hyphenman HE 400i, 4XX, blows those out of the water entirely. AKG K553, which is now kind of defunct, more of a monitoring headphone, but if you had to buy one, just buy these. Monoprice M570. Those were a fun modding platform, very comfortable, great build. Didn't sound $200. They definitely don't sound $300. These sound, as you can tell, these sound like $600 headphones, which are really competing in like the $1,200 to $1,500 range. So there's that. HD 579, HD 558, HD 58X. 58X are very versatile, very cheap. They're like 160. They're pretty good. I mean, they're really good. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick the Monoprice. Duconi Blue, very interesting headphone. Doesn't touch it. 99 Noir beats that. DT880 beats that. Let's see, more expensive headphones. DT 1990 with my recommended pad upgrade. 1990 are fun with the pad upgrade, and that's pushing $600. So yeah, take the Monoprice. Buyer T1, Buyer T5P, yeah, forget those. Those are $700. I'd take the Monoprice. HD 600, that's a toss-up. Monoprice M1060. I AB'd these with my 1060 closed with the open back mod, so we'll call them the 1060 CO. I AB'd those last night using the same cable because this cable's glorious. And actually, they're right here on my desk. So here are my M1060 CO with the beautiful carbon fiber Nautilus grills. Suspension headband makes you look like a freaking dork, although they look kind of cool in their own right. These, I forgot how much I like these. I like these more. Let's see. HD 6XCS, kind of the same thing with the 650. Hyphem and Sundara, I haven't heard those, but that would be a very interesting comparison. The Sundara at $350 to the Monoprice M570. That would be very, very interesting. I think they would hold their own very well, and that would be sort of a user preference sort of thing. But yeah, so, oh, Zeus won't like me for this, but Klipsch HP3s at $1,200. I take these. I take these every time. So anyway, if I haven't gushed enough about these and why I think they're important, basically I think they're important because they are pushing the barriers of absolutely fantastic sound by a huge elephant that is the Monoprice Monolith series. I'm very excited to hear the M1070 and the M1570, which are due to be released in December. So we'll see about those. Those look to be sort of Odyssey style gigantic planars. So it's very interesting. We'll see what those have to bring us. I'm not sure what drivers those use. It's obviously not going to be the Sendiiva drivers, so it should be interesting. But man, I really cannot say enough about these. These are a definite buy from me. If you don't buy them, you're kind of crazy. If you don't buy them, probably the only good reason to not buy them is if you have the Blonde B20 or if you have the Sendiiva. These Sendiiva, which I have adored since I've gotten them, I got them in March-ish, they're probably going up for sale. I don't really see a need for them, and with the looks and sound of the 570, I feel a little bit more comfortable using them on a daily basis, and I just don't really see a need. I just don't see a need for the Sendis anymore. It's kind of sad to say. I love them. I adore them. They're great headphones, but I don't really think they're my style. I don't really like the, I don't know, just, they're great, but I never really find a good time to use them. And maybe at $300, if I can carry these around a little bit more, not have to worry about them as much, maybe I'll use them a little bit more. And they deserve it because they sound incredible. So that's kind of all I have to say about the M570. There's going to be links below for the M570 at Monoprice and on Amazon whenever they get there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, but I know I didn't talk about the sound a whole lot. Like I said, I would highly recommend you watch Zeus's review of the Blonde B20, the Sendiiva. DMS is planning on doing one or both of those. He also did the Takstar review that they're actually my Takstars now. Zeus had them, and then DMS has them currently. So I would highly recommend going and look at those if you're interested in sort of the way these drivers sound. But for a really good review of these, look at the Blonde B20 and look at the Sendiiva, and that should tell you everything you need to know about the sound of the Monoprice. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. That's all for now.